So now we are live. Good evening to all law students and legal professionals who have joined with us in this webinar lecture series by Honorable Speaker Jaiveer Shergill sir on the topic of Is India Still a Democracy? Now I would like to introduce about Jaiveer Shergill sir. Sir is practicing lawyer in Supreme Court of India and a politician belonging to the Indian National Congress. Sir was born in Jalandhar in Punjab state. Sir is a lawyer who is specialized in case relating to money laundering. He was studied in St. Joseph School, Jalandhar, and APJ School in Jalandhar. Then, Sir has enrolled in the West Bengal National University of Judicial Science, graduating in 2006 within the bachelor degree in law. During his stint at the law school, Jaiveer Sir is participating in the various extracurricular activities and was elected president at the Union India. After practicing law for a year in Delhi, Jaiveer Sir is went to University of California and took a master degree from there. Now I would like to invite Sir to continue the webinar lecture series.
Thank you,
So now you
Sudhanshu.
can start.
Thank you, Sudhanshu. Thank you to legal trendsetters, organizers, and a big hi to all the law students who will be watching this, are watching this, law students, lawyers. आज आपने मुझे इस मंच पे, वर्चुअल मंच पे आपसे चर्चा करने का मौका मिल रहा है. Topic of discussion today, students, is democracy alive in India? Is democracy still alive in India? क्या लोकतंत्र आज हिंदुस्तान में अभी तक भी जीवित है कि नहीं है? It's a very, very vast topic. It's a huge topic. So I will narrow it down to 2-3 points to that topic. Firstly, what is democracy at a very big definition level? Because I'm in politics, somebody jokingly said democracy is freedom to elect our own dictators. You vote and you appoint people who rule over you. So freedom to elect dictators is democracy. Somebody said, does democracy only mean majority? Because majority has decided something, does that mean democracy? So said, if majority voted for you to jump off a bridge, will you jump off a bridge because majority said so? So no. Democracy is not only the will of the majority. The definition of democracy goes much more beyond. It's about debate, discussion, dissent, and even the will of also one individual who's standing last in the line. Number 3, why are we discussing today? Why is Legal Trendsetter discussing this topic today? Is democracy alive in India? Why in year 2021? This topic is being discussed. Though I belong to the Congress party, I'm a lawyer. The last time this discussion came into focus was in year 1975, when emergency was imposed by the then Indira Gandhi government. All the rights were suspended. So today, that time after 1975, today a discussion after 2014 and 2021 has started. Is democracy still alive in India? Why? Because issues are such. On one hand, you have a case like Pegasus, where in democracy, protected by the constitution, a government cannot interfere in your right to privacy. But a case like Pegasus has come, and Supreme Court has formed a committee whether to decide whether our right to privacy under Article 21 is being invaded. Whether today we have a government which is using Pegasus, a spying software, to control our votes, to manipulate, to intimidate, to threaten, to transform democracy into dictatorship. Is there a hijacking of democracy taking place? When today 160% rise is there in the cases of sedition, that is, even when drawing a cartoon or making a comment against the government on a Facebook, you are being sent to jail. When a reporter, for reporting a news report, a factual report, is being sent to jail. That is why it is important to discuss, is democracy still alive in India? When today women are being told to wear whether a kurta, jeans, sari, whether to eat chicken or not to eat chicken, that is why the question today has come, is democracy alive in India? When today elected governments in Maharashtra, Manipur, Uttarakhand, Goa were toppled overnight by the governor under the pressure of the center, that is why the discussion, is democracy still alive in India? Some people will argue it is also a matter of perspective. If you look at from the perspective of the ruling government, the Bharatiya Janata Party government, democracy is very much alive in India and running. If you look at from the perspective of the opposition, I belong to the opposition, then democracy is on the ventilator. If you look at the prism of a reporter, journalist, social activist, a student who's in jail for the past 2 years for a crime which he did not commit, democracy has been long dead in India. If you look at from the perspective of farmers who are protesting on the roads for the past 1.5 years for their right to life under Article 21, and the government is not listening, the case is not getting listed, democracy is dead in India. So the question is, who's asking the question and whose perspective are you looking from before we approach this question? Since you're all law students, and to give a definition, democracy, and I'm a law student, what is democracy? And I think law students in law school is a vibrant example of that. We, in law school hostels, we have a right to decide our food menu. That is democracy. We have a right to elect our hostel warden. That is democracy. We have the right to protest against our teachers. That is democracy. We have the right whether to wear jeans or a kurta pajama, and even these days now even shorts. Even that is democracy. But the question is, are these choices as freely available to law students within the hostel campus are available to 135 billion people in the country? That's the question. There are rights. The democracy, the basic essence is sada hak ithe rakh. Can everybody assert that right? That is the true litmus test and barometer of saying, is democracy alive in India? 3 Ds: debate, dialogue, and dissent. Debate, dialogue, and dissent differentiate democracy from dictatorship. So 3 Ds: debate, dialogue, dissent differentiate the 2 Ds: democracy and dictatorship. Now, democracy, to check whether it is alive or not, let's test 3-4 legal and political parameters. The first legal question: if democracy is only reduced to a vote in a general election and a state election, then democracy is alive. If democracy means equal representation in the parliament, then democracy is not alive. And because you're all law students and all the young, Sudhanshu, right, all majority law students and young lawyers are there. If you see the youth in there, the youth representation in the parliament is reducing. Before, after independence, after 19, when the first parliament was formed, we had 164 member parliaments under the age of 40. Today, that number is less than 12%. So a young country, a young democratic country, which has no young representation in the parliament or very minimal, can you say democracy is alive without representation? India is becoming a classic country of an aging parliament, aging and a young country, or a young country and an aging parliament. Budi Sadan, Sansad, or Naujawan Mulk. Is the youth participating in a democracy to the extent beyond 240 characters of the Twitter to show democracy is alive beyond the voting power? That is the moot question you as young law students have to ask. Are we only becoming armchair and drawing room politicians? Or are we there giving suggestion to the lawmakers, doing the protest in a peaceful manner, and making a change in the society? The number 2 question, before I get into the political part is, and as a law students, you will understand this law, is the anti-defection law. If you see from a parliament perspective, parliament is symbol of democracy. But today, how parliament functions, there is a larger question: does India even need a parliament? If you pick up the 10th schedule of the constitution, under the 10th schedule of the constitution, in 1985, an anti-defection law was made. What means, to explain it to the law students, earlier some member parliaments or MLAs used to get elected from X party and then used to jump to Y party and no consequences. Anti-defection law said you will be disqualified unless a large percentage of that people of political party make the shift. What is the consequence of the anti-defection law? Two parts. Why I'm saying people say, does India need parliament? First part is when an individual MLA and an MP today has to listen to his or her party only. The party decides how will an MP and MLA speak and vote. But a constituency only elects one individual MLA MP. If you have elected Jaiveer Shergill, you have elected me to serve to raise the concerns to the voice. If you elected anybody from BJP to raise their concerns and voice. But individually, a Jaiveer Shergill or anybody, member parliament of BJP or AAP, cannot decide what issues of public they will raise, because those issues will be decided by the larger political party. And if I don't agree or disagree with that, I can be thrown out of the party. There will be anti-defection law if I don't agree to vote as per my party. So the question is, if an individual MP, MLA cannot take individual decisions for his or her people of the constituency, do we need the parliament system? Second, if there is going to be no debate and discussion in the parliament, in the last session of the parliament, the farmer issue was not discussed, Pegasus was not discussed, the petrol fuel price hike was not discussed, bills are not sent to parliamentary standing committee, the joint parliamentary standing committees are not formed. It's only noise, no discussion, no debate. Crores and crores of rupees are spent every day in the parliament running. Net result is zero. Operation successful, patient dead. So the larger citizens of India who watch the parliament on the TV ask, why do we need parliament in democracy? Let's have departments and they'll keep running if there is no discussion, debate, dialogue. Smaller regional parties don't even sometimes get the chance to speak in the parliament. So that is point number 2. Youth representation. Is democracy live? Does India need a parliament? Is the number. I am today not giving speech. I am raising questions for the law students who go back to their law school and answer. Does India need parliamentary structure? Number 3. Is India changing from a democracy into an illiberal democracy? What does an illiberal democracy mean? The definition of illiberal democracy is you vote, you have institutions, you have MLAs, MPs, you have courts, you have a police. As per the book, you have all your rights. But all of them are hollow and meaningless, because ultimately whose government is in power, what they will say will happen, my way or the highway. So on paper, every nation will have the attributes of a democracy. You will have a voting, you will have a parliament, you have a court, you have newspaper, you have a media house. But when these institutions cannot exercise because of the control of the government, fear of the government, that means you're only democracy on paper, but in reality, you're an illiberal democracy. जो सरकार के खिलाफ सर उठाएगा, वो सर कटवाएगा. Highway or my way or the highway. So today, when there is a larger debate that media is controlled by the government. Today, when the larger debate is if students are protesting, they will be sent to the jail. When the larger debate is 160% rise in sedition cases since 2016 and 2019, 5,181 cases under UAPA Act. That means India is slightly going from a democracy to an illiberal democracy. When agencies like the CBI, ED, IT are only raiding opposition leaders, that means democracy is being hijacked and controlled. Law is not working as per the will of the constitution, will of the black book of the law, but will of the government, which is not a danger, which is a very, very dangerous sign for democracy. Number 3, and Mahatma Gandhi said, he said the true test of a democracy is when the last person standing in the line expresses a concern and the government listens. How many poor people in this country till date can rightly say, yes, India is democratic as per what the words of Bapu and Mahatma Gandhi were? Is the right to equality under Article 14 of the Constitution alive and kicking, or it's dead and only a privilege of the few? You are all law students. Today, a very famous superstar, Shah Rukh Khan's son, got bail and is home. Now, there are two aspects to it when you talk about democracy, right to equality, right to justice. One aspect is a boy without drugs recovery, without possession, is arrested, as in jail for 3 weeks, and does not get bail. But after 3 weeks, he gets 3 days hearing in the High Court and gets the bail, rightly so. So, right to equality for him means differently. But there are equally 20,000 under trials under the NDPS Act who don't get 3 days continuous hearings, who don't get bails. They will ask a question, what about our Article 14 right to equality? So, if for them, is 20,000 trial under trials, is a democracy alive, which the Constitution promised? Is democracy alive for Aryan Khan, who had to spend 3 weeks in jail without any recovery or offense? So these are the questions on democracy and is it alive. Now the next factor which comes to judge whether democracy is alive or not is the judiciary. Today, there's a question that judiciary per se by the Constitution was formed, the institution, to keep the government in check, to ensure when a government drunk on power and arrogance wants to trample upon the rights of the people, the judiciary should rise up and protect them. Now today you have a very good judgment in Pegasus case, the right to privacy, that the government of the day under the garb of national security cannot compromise on the right to privacy. राष्ट्रवाद या पाखंडी राष्ट्रवाद की आड़ में जनता के संवैधानिक हकों को कुचला नहीं जा सकता. That is the judgment in the Pegasus gave, which gives a hope to the people. Even when the government wants to hijack democracy, judiciary will come to the rescue. But that is one case. You and me may not agree with CAA, the Citizenship Amendment Act. You and me may not agree with whether 370, Article 370 should be revoked or not. We may have different political, ideological point of view. But if the Supreme Court can decide on Pegasus case so fast, why till date the petitions challenging the CAA and in revocation of 370 are still not being heard? So get the difference? These are the different shades which makes you question, are courts doing the job to protect the democracy at the same pace and consistency as they should be doing? Or even now, the courts, the protection of democracy, the treatment is on a case-to-case basis and not as per the rights of particular individuals, as per the flavor of the nation, as per the mood of the nation, or as per the rule book of the Constitution of India. Now, if you juxtapose with the world affairs, all over the world, a lot of democracies has collapsed. All over the world, when India got independence, there was a chatter, India is only about chaos and confusion, and this democracy will never survive. But today, here we are still in 2021. At least on paper, we are going to vote. We have our rights of freedom, speech, and expression, and to a large extent, they are there. But it is we, the people of India, it is we, you, the lawyers, the budding lawyers, the legal students, the law students, the courts of India, who have to stand as guardians between governments may come and go. But nobody should get the license to trample upon our democracy. So you have to keep asking the right questions. You have to keep challenging the injustice. You have to keep helping the poor for asserting their rights. You have to ensure that nobody can enter under the garb of power, can shake the very pillars of our democracy. That is the primary role of lawyers, budding lawyers, practicing lawyers, student lawyers in any democratic setup. The next point, from a legal, pure perspective, from a legal pure democracy perspective, the democracy is not guaranteed. It is an everyday job. And that everyday job is being done by courts, because we are all lawyers and we must discuss the legal aspect of it. Whether it was a Section 66A of the Information Technology Act, which was considered to be impinging on right to freedom, that was invoked. Whether it was same-sex marriages, whether it was a live-in partner concept where courts give judgment, whether it is the case of triple talaq, whether it is a case for our right to celebrate our religious festivals in a certain way, whether it is my right to be protected against central investigative agencies, right to a bail being the norm and jail being an exception. So these procedures, these substances, these basic things, not the usual larger umbrella, nationalism, Rashtravad, Dharm. No, these things don't keep democracy alive. The checking by the institution on their daily working, the concept of counter and balance is what keeps democracy alive. So you, my dear law students, keep asking questions, keep debating, keep dissenting, and most importantly and lastly, don't pass judgments without verifying the facts. Today is the world of Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We want everything in 240 characters in a capsule form. We don't want to read, we don't want to go into the details. Anybody on the TV says somebody is a drug dealer or is guilty, we believe that. In the evening, somebody says he's anti-national or should go to Pakistan, we start believing that. So don't be the judge, jury, executioner. Analyze, read, understand, verify the facts, and then give a judgment. And then, my dear friends, you will be prepared to test democracy, to protect democracy, and question the governments. And some Hindi shair, which is my favorite shairi, said very aptly, आज जो साहिबे मसनद हैं, मसनद means the government, आज जो साहिबे मसनद हैं वो कल नहीं होंगे, किराएदार हैं, मर्जी का मकान थोड़ी है, हम सभी का खून मिला है यहाँ की मिट्टी में, किसी के बाप का हिंदुस्तान थोड़ी है. So no one government can either hijack, control or kill democracy. We, the people of India, if we decide to change governments, to control democracy, to protect our democracy, we are fully prepared. For that, my dear law students, keep reading the Constitution of India, keep questioning, keep debating, keep challenging for India to be alive and kicking as it has always been. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, I will take.
Sir, former Chief Justice of India, Ranjan Gogoi has been nominated as a member of the Rajya Sabha. Sir, comment on this.
Nomination of Mr. Ranjan Gogoi is the biggest joke, mockery, insult, and assault on the independence of judiciary. Appointment of Justice Ranjan Gogoi to the Rajya Sabha puts a question mark on the impartiality of his decision making, and opens a window that is the government of day really is actually working on transforming judiciary into a political party wing. Yes, in the past, there has been one judge appointed, earlier nominated to the Rajya Sabha, but that was after 7 years of his retirement. So today, India, whether it's IAS, IRS, IPS judges, there must be a cooling off period before they are nominated, elected to a political post. So appointment of Justice Ranjan Gogoi is an attack, assault, and mockery of independence of judiciary in India. Next question.
So judiciary is neither an elect nor a nominated body, and all the supreme and residuary power are given to it. Is it a right of a democratic country?
Yes, I think if you compare it to in America, America is also democracy. Their judges are nominated by political parties. Some judges posts are also happen by vote by the constituency. So India does not want to have that system. The collegium system right now, with certain amendments, with more transparency in the collegium system, with the representation from the government and leader of opposition, there needs to be more transparency in the collegium system. But the collegium system with more transparency on merit election in a selection process is the right process. India right now cannot afford to have a elected judiciary like the United States have. The independence of the judiciary, separated from any kind of political influence, is the bedrock of our constitution, which should not be touched.
Sir, what is the reason why people who speak against BJP and talking about the true and justice are put under the vanishing mode at home by army and the police authority?
Issue is very simple because the BJP government wants to give a signal. It is my way or the highway. मैंने बोला जो सर झुकाएगा वो सर कटवाएगा. The current government is allergic to accountability and answerability. The current government only believes in celebration, not in explanation. If you see any dictator world, whether it's North Korea, whether it was Cuba, whether it was Saddam Hussein or anybody, India is still not as bad as it. But today, government does not want you to question the government. So the police, the investigating authorities are being used as musclemen, as the personal gundas of the government to threaten you, so that you focus on your own work and you forget about the constitution. That is the logic and target of the present day government.
Will national identities become submerged by the new global society?
No, they will not. Rather, in world politics is shifting to a different. Globalization is dying, and individualism, isolationism is rising. Regional and identities are getting more and more stronger. Borders are getting more tighter. Today, every nation, the concept of global unity is dying. Every nation is looking for themselves. The concept of global society as such is very limited on very specific few issues. Today, the concept of like America first, the voting is done on a concept called America first, and there the treatment of migrants, whether it is India, whether it is any nation, according to me, the global society, yes, it will exist, it is emerging, but there is a strong tribalization and strong growth of regional identity which is emerging.
UP government taking the encounter as a way to punish culprit. Are they not there crushing the democracy?
As a lawyer, it is unfair for me to comment whether the encounter on paper, yes. Uh, right now, in Gorakhpur, a 34-year-old
Yes.
old person was killed. 3 policemen have been arrested. FIR has been done. So, which shows that under the BJP UP government, neither the law and order is in control, neither people who are interested with protecting the law and order are in control. So people in men in uniform, when they rise above accountability or are used for political purposes, that is a poison pill for democracy. It's a case-to-case basis. Uh, there have been many cases by courts have given punishment for fake encounters. But any policeman which bows to political masters and not to the Indian Penal Code and not to the CRPC is a dangerous weapon for the Indian democracy.
Why democracy in India is getting interfered by the political leaders and government are not protecting law?
No, I think there are two parts. It is the job of the political and leaders and government to protect democracy and keep it alive. A political leader and a government is a bridge between people and the constitution. A political leader job is to ensure that people in democracy get their rights with the constitution's guarantee. So I won't call it interference. It is a service to the democracy. But when governments start interfering in independence of the institutions, then it means interfering with the democracy, which is detrimental to the health. Why are they doing it? I'll repeat, because no, this government does not want to be held accountable, and they want to transform us, the entire India, to be held hostage to one or two people's will.
Sir, how can we provide the government not to interfere the judicial or any other matter which not their concern?
I think that it is already ensured in the constitution. India has no dearth of laws. It is a manner of following it. it is a prime duty of judiciary to ensure that their independence is maintained. That is why there should be more transparency in election and selection of judges. There should not be any post-retirement benefits in jobs. There should be a cooling off period. Number three, there should be equality and transparency in listing of matters and in the hearing of matters. One anchor's matter is heard overnight in Supreme Court, and some other people are still waiting for the bail hearing for the past four months. I think the balance in justice, access to justice, shielding themselves from the political class, transparency in appointment, no to post-retirement jobs for at least 5 to 6 years after retirement is the key to ensure that no political interference happens in the judiciary.
So why are we feeling like there no one opposition, neither in state nor in central?
That is a very, though I'm in the opposition, that is a very valid question, which is raised. People are feeling there is no opposition. Uh, I see opposition is raising issues, but whether opposition is alive or not, it only depends what the ballot box shows. Whether you're winning different states or you're not winning different states. Today, BJP has a political dominance in the country. Media sometimes shows the protest, does not show the protest. Newspapers sometimes show the. I know how tough as opposition is for me to get my comments even reported in the newspaper. They're very select. But we as opposition cannot bank on excuses. Opposition needs to work more hard. Opposition unity needs to be much more focused. And only when we start consecutively winning elections or and the media becomes more transparent, we can say opposition is effective. There is no other excuse.
Sir, in current situation, UPA is becoming a primary weapon in the hand of BJP government.
Absolutely. There is, as I said, there is a 160% rise in cases of sedition and 5,181 cases registered under UAPA, some cartoonists, some students. So it is a weapon which is, rather than a law to protect the nation, it is being used as a weapon to protect the government from answerability and accountability.
Do not you think that the present government is working on the harder policies on the Congress region? I am talking about the informal policies like use of agencies.
Sarthak has thrown a googly. Sarthak, it's a question, it's a very valid question. There is a fair criticism. Some people will say during the Congress or any other, there used to be cases by the agencies. But today it has become rampant. Even during Congress regime, if you remember, Congress lost power in 2014 because in Congress regime against the Congress, CBI started investigating a 2G case. It's everybody's acquitted. Vinod Rai, which was the torchbearer, the CAG, which said Congress is a thief, today he had to apologize. So the question is, under Congress, agencies investigated the Congress. Today, under the BJP, agencies are only investigating the opposition, and BJP has given a signal that BJP is not corruption free, but it is investigation free. Today, it is shameless. I'm not talking one or two, shameless, brazen. Today, even a BJP, I think MLA or MP, a YouTube link got very viral. He said कि मुझे कोई खतरा नहीं है ED से क्योंकि मैं भाजपा के साथ हूँ. So that that answers your question.
So why government grant for necessary work are not issued to Punjab state especially? Is that just because of the different not BJP prevailing in Punjab?
BJP has killed the concept of cooperative federalism, that is for sure. Whether there is a non-BJP government, the same level of grants is not being stayed. Yes, BJP is murdering the concept of cooperative federalism for their political state. Every state they want to go give a BJP in state, BJP in center, and it's a double engine sarkar. That is their political slogan. And to fulfill that political slogan, they are discriminating from states to states when the grants are concerned, forgetting their constitutional duty. But once the elections are over, once you become the prime minister, once the government is elected, then you are the government of entire people of India and not just the government of people who voted for the Bharatiya Janata Party. The last question, sir, because I have to.
We have not heard about any president of India for more than 2 or 3 times in the last few years. All the times Mr. Amit Shah and Mr. Modi is coming to speak. Is he as a hostess?
President is a very supreme authority and a body. I will not like to comment. You can write a letter to Rashtrapati Bhavan for this answer. Yeah. Thank you, Sudhanshu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you. Thank you to legal trendsetters. Thank you so much.